When the sky is clear and the seas are calm, anyone can steer the ship. But when the storm rages, when the winds howl like wolves and the waves rise like mountains, that's when true leaders are revealed. Not built, revealed. You don't find out who you are in the sunshine. You find out when the fire starts, because chaos doesn't invent weakness, it exposes it, and it doesn't destroy strength, it summons it. This is the crucible. This is the furnace. This is the hour where the comfortable crumble and the committed rise. The world isn't looking for perfect men. It's starving for anchored souls. Winston Churchill knew this. He didn't step forward because he felt ready. He stepped forward because there was no one else left willing to. When the world stared into the face of annihilation, when reason collapsed, when the cities smoked and the lights dimmed across Europe, Churchill lit a fire so bright that tyrants blinked. He stood in the storm and didn't shake. Why? Because he didn't lead for the storm. He led through it. And that's the kind of leader you must now become. Not the one who waits for calm, but the one who builds calm within. Not the one who silences chaos, but the one who learns how to walk through it. Eyes forward, spine straight, voice steady. You were not made for safety. You were made for significance. But if you're going to lead in chaos, you must first win the war that no one sees, the war within your own mind, because that's where the collapse starts. Not in the economy, not in the media, not on the battlefield, but in the quiet corners of a leader's belief. The whisper, you're not ready. The doubt, this is too much. The lie, someone else should be in charge. That is the voice of chaos. And if you don't master it, it will master you. Churchill faced that same darkness. He called it his black dog, his inner demon of despair. But he didn't run. He named it, faced it, and fought it like an enemy. Because he knew, before you command armies, you must command yourself. Every morning you wake up, the battlefield is already drawn. Your thoughts are the terrain. Your choices are the weapons. Your mindset is the armor. And if your mind is fractured, your mission is doomed, no matter how noble, no matter how brilliant. So before you do anything else, fortify your thinking. This is not motivational fluff. This is war strategy. A clear mind cuts through fog. A calm voice calms nations. A steady belief steadies millions. That's what Churchill gave to Britain. Not just speeches, but stability. When others panicked, he paused. When others doubted, he declared. When others whispered, he roared. And he didn't do it because he felt invincible. He did it because he refused to let fear be louder than his purpose. So what about you? Will you be the echo of fear? Or will you be the voice that cuts through it? Because the first law of leading in chaos is this: if you don't control your mind, you cannot command your mission. You don't need more information, you need more intention. You don't need more followers, you need more conviction. You don't need the path to be smooth. You need the fire in your chest to burn hotter than the flames outside. This is how leaders are built, not in classrooms, not in calm, but in chaos. The kind of chaos that breaks normal men and builds extraordinary ones. Now that the war within has been named, now that the battle lines are drawn inside your own mind, you must face the next law of leading in chaos. Vision is oxygen. Without it, you suffocate. When the bombs fall, literally or metaphorically, people don't need more information. They need direction. They need to see something ahead, something beyond the rubble, something worth crawling toward. And if you're the leader, that vision must come from you, not from a committee, not from a poll, from the soul-deep certainty that says, this is where we go, this is why we must, and this is how we win. That's what Churchill did when London was burning. He didn't deliver press releases. He painted pictures of victory on the canvas of hell. He made people see the other side of the war before they ever got there. He gave them not statistics, but spirit. Not reports, but resolve. He knew that chaos blinds, that in crisis, the future goes dark. And the leader's job is to light it back up with words, with will, with unshakable vision. He didn't promise comfort. He didn't offer safety. He promised victory at all costs. Blood, toil, tears, and sweat. And the people followed not because he sugar-coated reality, but because he respected them enough to tell the truth and lead them through it. So what about you? When people look to you in times of chaos, do they see hesitation or direction? Do they see someone still checking the wind or someone who is the compass? Vision is not just about knowing what you want, it's about creating certainty in uncertainty. You don't need to know every step, but you do need to know the mountain you're climbing. A leader without vision is a passenger in a burning car. A leader with vision drives the fire through the storm and gets everyone out the other side. But vision is not enough. Because what follows vision is what destroys most people: pressure. It's one thing to know where you're going. It's another thing entirely to take step after step while the world tries to crush you. Pressure to be right, pressure to protect, pressure to carry the full weight of those who depend on you. And in those moments, your conviction will be tested. Not your talent, not your charm, your conviction. Because chaos has one goal: to wear you down until you begin to doubt the path you chose. Until you ask, am I really the one for this? Should I pull back? Maybe I was wrong. But if you retreat in that moment, you forfeit the very reason you were called. Churchill didn't bend when the pressure mounted. He burned hotter. He met pressure with preparation. He answered the weight with rituals of discipline: reading, writing, study, reflection, war planning. He didn't let the storm invade his system. He designed his system to outlast the storm. And that's what you must do now. Design your days like a soldier under siege, not in fear, but in clarity. You must protect your time like a general. Guard your energy like gold. Wake with purpose, speak with weight, decide with force, because discipline is the armor of leadership. Without it, pressure will sink its claws into your spine and bend you toward mediocrity. But with it, you become immovable, unbreakable, unshakable, not because you never feel the pressure, but because you have trained yourself to operate inside it. Action. That's where vision becomes real, where leadership leaves the page and walks into the world. And in chaos, action is not optional. It's oxygen. It's momentum. It's how you cut through the fog. You don't have to be perfect. You have to be present. You have to move. Because in times of uncertainty, indecision is a death sentence. And make no mistake, every moment you hesitate, every second you stall, you are training those around you to wait, to look left, to look right, to freeze instead of fight. That is how empires fall. Not by fire, but by inertia. But Churchill didn't wait. Not for approval, not for consensus, not for better conditions. He ordered evacuations. He launched offensives. He gave speeches not after things calmed down, but while the walls were shaking. Because he understood what few ever do. Action isn't just movement. It's a message. It tells your people, we are not paralyzed. We are not spectators. We are not hostages to chaos. We are in command. And if you are to lead now, you must make boldness your default. You must act while afraid, move while unsure, decide while surrounded by noise. Because leadership in crisis is not a waiting game. It is a war of forward motion. Those who wait for clarity never make it out of the fog. Those who create clarity by acting become legends. So act. Even if your voice shakes, even if your plan isn't complete, even if your hands tremble as you speak, action will reveal the next step. Courage will create the map, and conviction will carry you when logic fails. But what happens when the noise gets louder? When your decisions are questioned, your actions are criticized, your mission is mocked, that's when you must lead with the rarest currency of all: courage under fire. Not the kind of courage that shows up when the crowd is cheering. That's easy. That's theater. I'm talking about the courage to stand tall when no one claps, to speak truth when silence would be safer, to walk forward when it feels like you're the only one left moving. Churchill was not loved at first. He was doubted, rejected. He was laughed at for warning about Hitler. But when the war came, and every polite leader who had ignored the threat stood speechless, he rose. Not because he was new, but because he had been right all along. And in that moment, his courage became contagious. That's what courage does. It doesn't just protect you, it empowers everyone watching. In chaos, people will not remember your position. They will remember your posture. They will remember whether you folded or stood your ground. And when you stand with courage, you give permission for others to stand too. You say, "This fire will not consume us. It will forge us." We do not run from fear. We lead through it. So lead, even if your legs are shaking. Speak, even if your voice cracks. Stand, even if you're the only one still upright, because the world doesn't need more comfort. It needs more courage. And you were built for that. You've known it all along. If courage is the fire that ignites a leader, then adaptability is the wind that shapes the flame, keeping it alive in every condition. In chaos, rigid minds break. But the flexible, they bend without snapping. They adjust without losing the mission, because when the battlefield changes, your thinking must too. The mountain won't move for you, so you must climb differently. This is not compromise. This is command. Adaptability is not weakness. It is warrior intelligence. Churchill understood this. He didn't cling to outdated ideas. He shifted, recalibrated. He formed unlikely alliances, Roosevelt, Stalin, men who once stood opposed, but now stood together against a common enemy. Because when you're leading in chaos, ego is a luxury you can't afford. The outcome matters more than your pride. Adaptability means letting go of the need to be right and choosing instead the responsibility to be effective. It means looking at the field, bloody, broken, unpredictable, and saying, "This is not what I planned, but I will still prevail." It means learning, not once, but constantly. In chaos, every moment teaches, and the moment you stop learning, you start falling behind, because the storm does not care about your status. The chaos will not wait for your comfort, and survival belongs to those who refuse to stagnate. So evolve, faster, sharper, smarter. Throw away the outdated playbook. Write a new one with ink made of blood, grit, and adjustment, because only those who adapt endure. And that brings us to the heartbeat of it all, the core virtue, the backbone of leadership through fire, resilience, not the glamorous word they post in quotes, not the filtered version that shows triumph without cost. I'm talking about real resilience, the kind built in silence, in failure, in 3 a.m. doubt, in the brutal moments when no one is watching and you're still standing. Churchill knew defeat. He knew rejection. He was voted out of office right after winning a world war. Imagine that. You save civilization, and they show you the door. But he didn't collapse. He wrote. He spoke. He prepared. And years later, he returned. That's resilience. It's not about never falling. It's about never falling apart. It's the decision again and again to keep moving forward, even when forward feels like crawling on broken glass. Resilience is not tough skin. It's a fortified soul. It's waking up, wrecked from yesterday, and still showing up for today. It's losing a battle and not losing your identity. Because real leaders don't just endure chaos, they transform in it. They don't just survive the fire, they come out wielding it. So ask yourself, will this chaos define you or refine you? Will you be remembered as the one who broke under pressure or the one who bent the pressure into power? Because no one builds statues for those who had it easy. They build them for those who kept standing when the wind would have leveled most men. And you were made for that. Your pain is not proof you're weak. It's proof you're in the arena. So stay there. Take the hits. Rise slower if you must, but rise, because that's what leaders do. They fall, they bleed, they break, and then they build from the ruins. So now here you are. The smoke hasn't cleared, the storm hasn't passed, the noise hasn't stopped, but something inside you has changed. Because leadership, true leadership, is never about waiting for silence. It's about becoming the stillness in the storm. It's about walking forward when every bone in your body says turn back. You were not chosen for calm waters. You were called to chaos for a reason. Because only chaos creates the kind of leader who can't be manufactured, only forged. Not in classrooms, not in theory, but in fire, in failure, in burden, in the hollow nights when your breath echoes louder than your hope. That's where leaders are made. And you know what? You are already being made. Every scar is a signature. Every setback is instruction. Every sleepless night is sharpening something deeper than rest ever could. Because leadership is not about having power over others. It's about having power over yourself, over your reactions, your attitude, your fears, your inner chaos. That's what Churchill mastered. Not just the battlefield, but his beliefs, his voice, his relentless conviction that this too shall pass, not through time, but through action. He didn't wait for rescue. He became the rescuer for a nation, for a continent, for an idea. Because leadership is not about perfection, it's about presence. It's about standing where others flee, speaking where others fall silent, believing where others collapse. And it's your time now, not next year. Not when things get easier, now. In this chaos, with these odds, in this storm. Because someone is watching you right now. They don't need another speech. They need to see someone live the example. They need to see someone rise without applause. To lead without a script. To move when every excuse says stop. Because when one person chooses to lead in chaos, they give permission for 10,000 others to follow. That's what legacy looks like. Not medals, not headlines, but the ripple effect of conviction in motion. So do not flinch, do not fold, do not disappear into the noise. Stand. Stand for the ones who can't. Stand for the ones who won't. Stand because you were born to carry fire through the night. You will not win every day. You will not always feel strong. But that's not the point. The point is that you don't leave the front line. You don't surrender the mission just because the world is burning. You build within the burning. You shape meaning from madness. You lead, because no one else will. And when the chaos fades, because it always does, when the world looks back at this hour, they will say not that you survived, but that you stood firm, that you spoke light, that you led like fire on legs. And in that moment, when history whispers your name, you will not need applause. Because the storm did not break you, it built you. You are the eye of the storm now. So go, not to wait, not to wish, but to lead. In chaos, through chaos, above chaos, forever forward.